Welcome to Sharing Fire. I'm Dr. Marc Hardy, and some of you may be wondering, what does Sharing Fire mean? Well, this is our first show, and I have my guest Bill Brennan with me here today, but before Bill and I start talking, I want to share with you what Sharing Fire is all about. Sharing Fire is based on the myth of Prometheus, which is a Greek story about the time when Zeus took fire from the mortals because he felt they were silly creatures and he wanted to basically get rid of them and start all over. And so he took fire away from them so they could no longer have warmth, so they couldn't cook food, so they couldn't make weapons. And Prometheus, who was a titan, loved the mortals. And so he took the fire back from Zeus and gave it to the mortals. Of course, Zeus and the rest of the gods were just furious, and they called him a philanthropos tropos, which was a very derogatory term. And they couldn't understand why he loved these silly human beings. And out of that came the word philanthropia, because what he did was an act of philanthropia. He was showing his love for humanity. And out of that comes the word philanthropy. So when we talk about sharing fire is about how we take and give tools to other people to help them create a better life. And today with me I have Bill Brennan, who is the Senior Associate for Mendoza College of Business at the University of Notre Dame. How you doing, Bill?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for having me here tonight.
Well, I'd love to have you here tonight. We have to tell everybody that we are very good friends.
We are.
We have to disclose that.
We do.
And one of the reasons we're very good friends was not only do we have a great time together, but I am really impressed with the way you work with young people at the Mendoza College of Business, the way you interact with these students and the time you take with them. And it's not really a major part of your job, right? So why do you do that?
Yeah, I enjoy the young people that we attract to the University of Notre Dame and the Mendoza College of Business. I like young people in general. I think it sort of runs in my family. My dad was the president of the school board in the town that I grew up in with for 40 years. My grandfather was an educator at the high school level, so it probably runs in my family to a certain degree, but to me, there's a lot of really nice young kids that we're around in the kind of work that we've chosen to do. And you know, even though they're very talented and have a great deal of ability and a great deal of potential, you can see in different individuals that they have areas where they could need help or guidance or nurturing or mentoring. And so I enjoy getting involved with them and helping them along the way and as that part of their journey.
Well, I'm really impressed with the way you interact with them. What I'm even more impressed with is the fact that you're 6'5", and I'm very jealous. We talked about earlier, I said, you know, we're going to have to adjust these chairs so you and I don't look like Mutt and Jeff.
Yes.
But being a basketball player, you're pretty connected to the athletics at Notre Dame, too. I mean, you're always talking to the athletes, and you were a basketball player at the University of Vermont, correct?
I was, yes. I played basketball in college myself, high school and college. And so I have great admiration for the athletes and what they work to do every day and to keep their studies up and how they represent the various universities that they represent. And I really feel very strongly that I wouldn't be the person that I am today without my experience in athletics. And I think it can be a very, very influential experience for people on their lives as young people.
So did you have a person in your life that you could point to and say, if it hadn't been for that person, I wouldn't be where I am or doing what I'm doing today?
Yeah, I think so. When I was very young, maybe 5th or 6th grade, I was the ball boy, the guy that catches the balls underneath the basket and throws them out to the varsity basketball
That sounds like what I would have been doing, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was quite young. I was still big even then, but for my age, but I was quite young and I did that job. And the varsity basketball coach was just sort of a gym coach in this little town that I grew up in, Ticonderoga, New York, 4,000 people, very small, very rural, you know, somewhat poor area. And he asked me and some of the other kids in our grade to be the ball boys for the varsity. And because of that, I got an interest in basketball, and he recognized the skill that I had in basketball at an early age and really encouraged me. And I'll never forget, I brought the yearbook. You know, I was a little kid and I was excited that I was the ball boy and the varsity had done pretty well. And I bought the yearbook as a 5th grader or 6th grader, whatever it is. And I bring it to him and I ask him to sign it, you know, and he just writes in there, Bill, those who dare win, Coach V. And I'll always remember that, him signing it that way, and sort of the influence that he had on my life at an early age. He ended up retiring, so he wasn't my high school coach himself, but I would say besides my family and support and encouragement they gave me, that he was one of the big impacts in my life, and probably didn't even really realize how much of an impact he had.
So have you talked to him about this at all? Is he still around?
Unfortunately he had a heart valve issue, and he passed away in his sleep maybe about 15 years ago. We never really talked about it, unfortunately, and I sort of regret that. But he had a great impact on not only my life, but many other people's lives as well.
And I've had that situation too. So here's a lesson. If somebody in your life has influenced you, thank them before it's too late, right?
Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and it's happened. It happens all the time. People I interview, they say all the time, "Boy, wish they were still around," or "I don't know where they are anymore. It's been years and years and years."
Certainly.
So, you interact with these young people, and you don't hear them, but I do, because I interview them. Because you bring them to me and you say, "This person's got a really great story," and they tell me what a wonderful person you are.
Oh, gee.
Now I'm your friend, and I got to say, okay, now what does he?
I know where this is going.
Where does he go? What does he do that is so wonderful? And usually they say, he just gives us really great advice, and he really helps us focus into certain areas. He asks us questions about what we want to do in our future, and he really makes us think about it. And I'm just wondering, do you have one or two people that come to your mind, students that you were kind of surprised at their accomplishments, and they've said to you, thank you?
Yeah, well, I would say, anybody that comes into our life, whether it's a friend or somebody that's our direct charge as a part of our work, or somebody that we just sort of run across your happenstance. If you engage in somebody's life, my own personal philosophy is you owe them your very, very best in terms of engagement and advice and that kind of thing. So I take that role when it does happen to me and occur to me through whatever channel very seriously, and try to give them my best. I would say that some of the students that we've had over the years have been very, very interesting. Some of them in, I would say, maybe somewhat desperate situations with the INS regulations that we have nowadays, to come to this country to go to school, to get a greater education. The biggest measure of success to those that come here is if they can actually stay here and get a job in America. That's thought of as the real key. And unfortunately, the INS regulations make it very difficult on them to do that. The numbers just sort of don't add up, and
so once
it's
they
very
get their
hard.
degree, it's hard for them to stay.
It can be very hard for them to stay, and some of the people that come to mind, Olga Storakova is a young woman from Belarus who came here and went through our MBA program in a 2-year period of time. Her husband was working at Amazon in Seattle, and she and her 10-year-old daughter were here at Notre Dame. So it was a split family, nothing wrong with their relationship, just split up for economic reasons. She's under a lot of pressure to take care of her daughter, get through school, be a single mom, get a job. And she's from a foreign country, and she doesn't know how to do it.
A lot of challenges.
Yeah,
right?
so we spent a lot of time together working on the various elements of her plan and what she should do next, and providing strategy and encouragement and all those kinds of things. And fortunately, it turned out to be a great success story. She landed a job with McDonald's in marketing, which is a very great company, but very hard company to land with, at their corporate level.
Is that in their Chicago?
Yeah, she's in the Chicago area, and she's been with them a couple years now, and clearly demonstrated her value to the point where the folks that she's working with have given her a promotion and say that she has a very bright future ahead of her. And anybody that knows Olga well would know that she has all the characteristics and attributes and skills to be highly successful. She just really needed to be given a chance.
Now, I know that you have strong relationships with people at McDonald's. right? So,
I do.
So what role did you play in
I do.
that?
Yeah, I didn't at the time
Okay.
when we first started working together, but subsequently over that time period, we've developed very strong relationships, professional relationships. But I would say that at the time, I was just starting to get going with the people at McDonald's corporate, and one person in particular who I have a great deal of respect for. And I called him up for some other work that we were hoping to do together. And as I was talking to him about that work and engaging with Notre Dame in that regard, I sort of brought up and awkwardly stumbled into saying, hey, Mike, I'd like to talk to you about something else, and maybe I'm leading a little bit with my head here, but there's this young person that I'm working with, and she's really a great young talent, and I'd like to see her get an opportunity, and I'd like to send her your way and have you talk to her and meet with her and see what you think. And if you agree that that there's a lot of potential there, maybe you could help her try and navigate the channels there. So, yeah, I was heavily involved, sort of behind the scenes, trying to champion her in that particular opportunity and towards that opportunity. But the bottom line is she had to do the interviews on her own. She had to do the internship on her own. She had to produce quality work. So she's truly the one that got the opportunity for herself, but I was there to sort of try and coach and help her a little bit.
You gave her the tools to help her create a better life. You didn't hand it to her. You basically gave her the opportunity and said, make it what you can, and she obviously made the best of it.
She did, yeah. She's absolutely on a great trajectory. I didn't give it to her basically because I couldn't give it to her. Someone has to do that for themselves. But
encouraging her.
But encouraging her and being there and talking strategy several times a week. Occasionally there were times when she would end up in my office in tears, not thinking things would work out. We all, as people, have our high points and our low points, right? And, my low point in your life is usually when I walk into your office at work, right? but for your day,
because I want to be honest with our audience, I also hire Bill to come in and do programs for me, especially for volunteers in transition, which is a program where students who have graduated from college take a year or two and they go volunteer for Peace Corps or Jesuit volunteers or Lutheran services or whoever. And when they come back, they're kind of disoriented and they don't really know where to go with their life because they've been in a different world. And so we take them through a whole program to help them kind of get their feet back on the ground and give them a direction of their career or graduate school or whatever they're going to do with the next few years of their life. And Bill does a program on personal branding and how you use your personal brand to create the kind of job and the kind of career that you want. And I have to tell you, when you're done with that program, I get students coming to me telling me how great you are, how much they loved it, and then I see your thank you notes. And what exactly? And I wasn't there for this last one because I was out of town. What exactly do you tell them when you get together with them?
Yeah, I think anytime you focus on developing a personal brand, it has to start with self-reflection and self-evaluation. And I like to start with actually a definition of a brand that I believe in. And a brand is a person's perception of their experience with a product or service generally. But I extend it out further and say that would also apply to a person. So the people in the audience that are watching your show tonight, they're going to have a perception of their experience of watching us and watching what we're talking about. So it starts with that and a recognition that you are a brand. You are a personal, professional brand, whether you want to be or not, based on that definition. And so what are the things that you can do? What are the things that you can control? What are the things that you can manage in terms of your personal characteristics, your attributes, how you work with other people, how you show dedication, engagement, and going above and beyond the call of duty. I think that, to me, most people nowadays look at the personal brand piece and personal branding as social media. So what are you doing on Facebook? What are you doing on Twitter? And there are a lot of very famous people that are utilizing those particular social media instruments to help build their brand, Lady Gaga and people like that. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm more talking about, as I do in that last session for you, building your personal brand, aligning it with your organization's brand, and managing that relationship towards win-win outcomes. If you have a great brand, but the organization that you work for or that you represent has a different brand, and you're in conflict with that brand by the way you present yourself and carry out your duties, you're not accomplishing anything beneficial for either yourself or the organization. So I think it's very important for those two things to be in concert, and most people, as simplistic as it sounds or common sense as it sounds, they don't look at it that way to start.
So a brand is really about your reputation.
It is,
right?
in the the old words of the 50s or 60s or whatever. Yeah, that would be that person's reputation. Now it's more thought of as a personal brand. Yes.
Okay, and so when you talk about branding, what are the reactions you usually get from these young people? I mean, do they grasp this?
They do. It's interesting because there can be a bit of a lens opening at first where people don't necessarily know what a brand is, and when they do think of a brand, they think of it as applying to a product usually. When you explain it to them that it can also apply to people, a lot of times they think, well, those people that you're talking about are all famous,
Right,
so whether it be some rock star or some politician or some famous business person or what have you.